Hi everybody, it's Regan here, just coming in with a little bit of information that I'm feeling, and really more questions as well to ask, because I'm really genuinely curious in how other people are thinking and feeling right now throughout all of this, especially as things are heating up. So, where to begin? It's an amazing time. It's incredible what we're seeing. It's all unfolding. It's all being revealed. And there is a spiritual divine order behind it, I will say that. But I'm not going to get too esoteric in this video, because I'm really actually wondering about some of these 3D physical events right now. It's so interesting to me. I think something that has been very interesting to me so far personally is how much I've been changing a lot of my own ideas and beliefs. Really trying not to get caught up in any kind of dogma, because we talk about Republican and Democrat dogmas, statist dogmas. There's anarchist dogmas, there's libertarian dogmas, there's all kinds of these things too, obviously. And that's not something we should turn a blind eye towards. If we're truly trying to be effective, that doesn't really help. It might help the ego, it might help the pride, but does that actually help the cause? Does that actually help free people to just turn a blind eye to our own shortcomings, maybe our own ignorance, Just something to think about, because the fixed mindset, just being completely fixed as everything is changing and shifting, might not always be the most helpful thing. Something that I just can't even believe sometimes is the duality I see that is rising, and this is part of the spiritual shift too. And just to break it down, I'm not up here even trying to say that you should be spiritual, because it's not even, we're not at that point anymore. That was years ago. We're at the point where this is spiritual. There's no separation. You don't put on the clothes and go to church, or go do yoga and you're spiritual, and then you come back into reality, and it's not. This is all the time now. It's energy, it's metaphysical. And if you haven't seen that, that's really, when you understand that, in my opinion, that's when you really wake up. The government, this stuff, this is just the surface level, and I'm not trying to tell anyone what to think. That's never my intention when I'm coming up here. I'm just trying to maybe spread a different perception that I'm feeling, because we really are going into those kinds of times. We have been, and it's just getting more and more. 2020, it's like crunch time. It feels, at least that's what it feels like. It's time to really wake up. You've time to really question everything you've been taught, everything you've learned, everything. It's not just about the government. This is way deeper. This goes back into who we really are. This goes back into our origins as human beings and beyond, as sovereign beings, as consciousness evolving. This is far, far, far deeper than a government. In fact, I don't even really look at it as the government anymore. And that's what I mean when I say I've changed a lot of my own beliefs. And it just makes me think of all kinds of things. And I may be something, I'm just kind of flowing. I'm just kind of going with what comes to me. But maybe a good example, I don't even want to call myself an anarchist anymore. And it's not because I don't love anarchist and voluntarist philosophy. It's not about that. And, I'm not trying to get all caught up in words and confusion type of stuff, because everyone has different meanings and beliefs with even just words. But my whole point is, it's just another ism. It's just another label. It doesn't define me in a sense. I tend to, of course I'm not down for rulers. I'm down for a voluntarist. That's of course the goal still. It's consistent. But there's so many more things in this world, in this field right now. And so that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's like, how to even explain it? These dogmas of expecting things to be a certain way. We talk about having these free, agorist societies, I know in my heart that that's true, and that's going to be our evolution, and that is our, goal. It's a worthy goal. It's a meaningful goal. It's so, above all things, that we can learn to live together in peace. And it's not that hard. It shouldn't be that hard. It's very natural, actually, for human beings to be peaceful amongst each other until they're driven into separation and hatred and division. And that's exactly the case. That's exactly the case. We've been attacked on all fronts. We know this. This is old information. And I'm just feeling so many different things because it's so fascinating to me. All of a sudden, all these people are waking up really fast in all kinds of directions. And they're going through these processes that we all went through in our own way. But it seems like it's so sped up now. And, before I get lost in that tangent, I'll just go back to what I was saying before first. We want to truly create these free, voluntary societies, right? That's what it's about. That's what I believe it's about. That's what I'm about. It's not about being right. It's not about doing it the way that you specifically feel like it has to be. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do that and live that out, if that's what you're called to, but I'm just saying, it's astonishing to me how we're still seeing this more than ever, almost, on some fronts, this hostility towards anyone who doesn't have the same exact opinion as another. And I just can't even fathom it sometimes. I mean, we all have that. But really, to me, it's just an insecurity, because it's like, we shouldn't all conform to the same idea ever anyways. That could never even happen. And as anarchists, we should understand that, I just don't really understand that everyone's talking about the police. I'm more concerned about the thought police right now, because I'm just seeing people it's insane. It's insane. It's interesting. And I'm not trying to fearmonger, because I don't feel fear about it. This is just, it's very interesting to me, and it's very intense. Obviously, you can probably feel I'm a little amped up right now compared to usual. But it's not a bad thing. It's just I'm truly fascinated by, I guess, this story and what I'm seeing. But if we are truly trying to create these voluntary free societies, which we can do that. Like I've said before, you have to actually believe in that first and foremost. We have that ability, and now is the time more than ever. Now is when this education of alternatives is more important than ever. All this destruction, all this fighting, all this, what's this really doing? I mean, there's a point when you have to acknowledge what's going on is wrong. There is a point, people get emotional and they have to kind of purge this energy out. Everything is as it should be in that sense. We're right where we need to be. There's a lot of things going on that we don't fully understand yet. I'm not saying that's what's going on right now is bad or wrong at all. I'm just observing it, and it's bringing a lot of interesting questions and thoughts to me that I thought I'd share. So if we want to build these societies, again, it's not about being right. It's not about, it's not just about being militant and I don't know, condescending, I guess is the word about it. Because that's another illusion. That's the biggest theme right now that I feel is a unity we need. That's what's wanting to happen. And that's what we need amongst people. And we're feeling it, and it's happening, and it's a little messy because there's so much infiltration on all sides. And, this is just a grand happening. All these different factions have been preparing for this time on all spectrums. So I guess the point I'm getting at, though, is if we truly want to create this, we're going to have to really open our minds and our hearts a little bit. I feel. And instead of being, when you divide yourself from other human beings, and I'm not saying you have to agree with everyone. I mean, you can actually disagree with people peacefully. It's a real thing that we can do. And it actually, when you can engage in someone that you don't have the same opinion as them, and you can do that, that's how you can actually learn and add to your own, so you're not just in your own echo chamber of the same thing you've been believing for 10 years. We're evolving, things are shifting, things are changing. It's a spiritual thing. There's no way to get around it at this point. It doesn't matter if you think it's religious or not. I mean, this is an energetic activation. and I think a lot of people know that. I think a lot of people are feeling that. So I guess another thing going right into that is, in a sense, being a little more realistic. I don't know, I guess that's the only word I can think of to describe it. Being more realistic in our approach. We want these free societies, you know, okay, so instead of so much fighting the old, let's start building them. And a lot of people are on the same page, and I know that. But on the even further than that, you know, everything is energy. This whole thing is psychological and emotional. We can't just, you know, like really think about if we just ended the government right now. What would that really do? You know what I mean? Like, realistically, think about energy chains and how things work and how people are right now. You know, and again, I know that they're going to happen. You know, I'm not trying to discourage. I'm just saying, you know, we're going to have to phase out of the old and phase into the new. And there's a lot of wisdom in that, because it's completely true. As you build the new vision that is so good, the old will fall in on itself. It becomes obsolete. And that's exactly what we're seeing now. It's falling apart because we all knew this day would come, because it couldn't sustain itself forever. Because it's completely driven by an unsustainable madness. It's an illusion, and it can go on for a long time, but it can't last forever. We're at that time now. That's why you're here. That's why you're on Earth right now. I'm sure you're here for a specific reason. We all are. You can remember that. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's the real knowledge that we've been held out on, that we can tune into now because of the changes on the Earth and the energy and in our DNA. It might sound crazy, but I just feel the urge to just start planting these seeds for a while. I've been kind of just like observing and holding back, but I'm just feeling it right now. We have to phase out and phase in, you know, and I'm not telling you what to think, but maybe ponder upon that for a second. What does that mean to you? You know, maybe we don't have to hate so much. And it's hard, and I've been there. I've been through some crazy life experiences with psychopathic beings, like head on, directly. And, you know, at the time, I went through a crazy situation, and it was painful, and it was shocking, and it was disturbing to witness that kind of malevolence, you know, that is here. That's what's being exposed right now. It has to be exposed. It has to expose itself. People are waking up to symbolism now. So that means that they're going, and it's already happening, they're seeing what they've been telling us all along, because the powers that be, or I call them the powers that had been, past tense, because the narrative has changed. You know, they don't control the world anymore, and that's why they're freaking out. That's why they're freaking out. That's how I see it, truly. I don't really think they're powerful at all. I think their power disintegrates by the day, and every time they try to pull some bullshit, the blowback is almost immediate. And we're going to see that. We're going to see that if you haven't already seen that. It's an amazing time to be alive. But again, this is more about, I guess, just questioning things, but also thinking about real solutions, because of course that's what agorism is all about. And even as I've sort of shifted and changed so many different belief systems I have, that's one that remains strong. A voluntary society is very possible, very doable. It's very meaningful. It's very important for our evolution. There's a reason we are called to that. There's a reason we know in our hearts that that's morally aligned with who we really are. We all know that. So why is there so much thought police going on even amongst ourselves? I guess that's just like an interesting thing to me. It's okay to it's okay to disagree with people. I mean, we all know that, but then in the heat in the moment, and I've been there too, I understand. But again, that's, I have these thoughts within myself, and so I share them with others, thinking about how we're really going to build this new earth, which we are doing now, and it does start within. Ultimately, it always starts within. Thinking about real strategies. There's no evolution outside the vibration of love. That's just the way it is. You can fight it, you can resist it, you can do that, that's fine, but ultimately, when you're ready to make some real change in your life, you will come to find that every time, It's just be like that. It's just how it is. Love is truly the most important creative force. We are creative beings. Again, that's the most important thing I'm talking about. That's really when you start going into the core of awakening. The government is just the surface level physical manifestation of the actual vibrational control that's been going on in the mind, in the heart. That's really where we need to reclaim our sovereignty, because if you truly understand that and you reclaim your spiritual sovereignty, stop being a victim. Being a victim, that's another thing I've been seeing so much. Everyone wants to be a victim. That's a choice. If you don't know it's a choice, then now you do. Now you know that that's a choice. You don't have to be a victim. It's all about your perception. You can empower yourself. And again, that's what agorism to me is really about. Whether you're talking about economically empowering yourself or whether you're talking about energetically empowering yourself, it's about being truly free and sovereign. That is how we truly lead by example, and when we can align with that, that's how we truly live that kind of lifestyle, and that's how we truly plant these seeds and start to build these new paradigms. It's very real. We're seeing it now. This has been happening for so long, and it's accelerating so much now. We're not going to regress. There is a lot of clearing. There's a lot of energetic purging, a lot of lower vibrations that have to come up. It's like karma. It has to come up and be dealt with. But we have the choice in how we are going to react to it. I feel crazy, there's so much energy going on, there's so many different emotions going on. I think we're all feeling it on a day-to-day basis, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's part of the work we're here to do. Just that is enough. Just being here is enough, truly. What you decide to do with your time, that's your freedom to create. And again, that's our true sovereignty. That's our true root. That's our true core. That's the real force. You know what I mean? If you want to feel like a victim of the government, a victim of this person, a victim of this race, a victim of whatever, you can do that, but ultimately you're just making yourself weak. That's a hard pill to swallow, and I've had to be there. I have to remind myself this every single day as well, that I am not a victim. I know I'm not a victim. I'm not a victim to anyone or anything. I am sovereign. I choose my reality. I don't consent to being a victim, to feeling like a victim like that. I know that I'm powerful. We are all powerful. That's the real thing. And I think we all know deep down, always, that's been the biggest tragedy of this whole illusion that the powers that had put upon us, is that we're these weak, ugly little creatures. Like, we can't fend for ourselves. Like, we can't come up with creative solutions. Like, we can't see past their division tactics and just get along with each other. It's like, it's a simulation. It's a simulation within a simulation, and who knows how many simulations are within it. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is, it's just such an amazing time to be here, and our real power and strength is within us always. We have everything we need. We really do. We have everything we need. And it's just funny to me seeing all of these, I don't know how to say it, newcomers, I guess, in a sense, that are all of a sudden up in arms about the police or, the government or whatever. I don't even know. I'm not really that tuned in, but it's very interesting to me And I've been there. I've been in those militant attitudes, when you're mad and you see it and you just wake up to it. And it's emotional and it's intense, and and that's a natural thing to feel, of course. We all have the right to feel that way, because it is there is a lot of really dark evil that has been here for a very long time. And again, it's all being revealed right now. It's not necessarily new, it's not getting worse, it's being revealed, because we're in the revelations. Everything is being revealed. All this darkness is being exposed in the light, and this has been happening for a long, long time. This very thing has been happening, and it's been accelerating, and we're in this pivoting moment. So I guess on that note, I won't make this too long. I know I went all over the place, but hopefully it was some food for thought, because I'm really feeling inspired. I'm feeling a little bit of fire today, and just fascination, and seeing the development of this consciousness, of this collective consciousness, and all the different individuals. I'm seeing things I never expected I would see, and it's pretty interesting. But the last thing I guess I'll say is, may love be your guide. Love will be your guide, not fear. If fear is your guide, it's going to lead you to destruction and annihilation, always. And I'm not just talking about physical property. I'm talking about your reality. Because it's just not creative. It's not sustainable. That's just playing in your own mud, essentially, in my opinion. There's a time and a place for it. And I'm not saying anything is wrong, because we all need those experiences sometimes, But it's just something to think about. This is real evolution. We're here. It's time to really wake up. That's how I feel about 2020. 2020 is just like all about wake up. Wake up. It's okay. There's nothing to be afraid of. It might be the unknown, but there is a divine order to all of this, and you can tune into that, to your heart. We can't just let this intellectualism make us fools when we know the truth. We know who we are. We know our origins. We know we are worthy. And if you don't know that, you will eventually, because it's just the nature of it. That's the illusion that makes you feel separate from who you really are. And that's when people start getting into these crazy rabbit holes of hatred and anxiety and fear and lack and scarcity and poverty and confusion. It's a spiritual battle. It's not about cops versus people. It's just not. It's not really even about, all these old dogmas we've had, government versus people even, or whatever. It's like, and I'm not trying to speak black and white, because that's another thing, is this duality is so strong right now. I realize there's so many different fractals of duality and everything right now that's hard to even say what's right and wrong. And I don't even really try to make judgments about those things. I discern, but I don't even try to make such black and white judgments like that anymore, because things are so complex right now, ultimately. I guess that was my last thought, because I just drew a blank there. But I think it's been a good rambling session. But I appreciate all of you for being here. I really do. This is an amazing time. It's an amazing time to truly tune in and know that you are empowered. I guess that's where I was going with that. I really will end on that note now. We we have all this weird programming that makes us look at each other like we're all enemies. And I just feel like, at least for me personally, I don't feel that way at all. I've have a long history of hating people, hating the government, hating the cops, hating the politicians, hating the liberals, hating the Republicans, or whatever. And it's just like, it seems so silly to me now, honestly. It just seems so silly to me, because that's not the real threat. They're not really, to me personally, like, that's not really the threat. That's sort of just the very surface. There's a spiritual battle going on in this little corner of the world right now, of the in the earth. And like I said, I'm not going to get too deep into the esoteric stuff right now, because from a higher level it's a lot more harmonious. But in this field we are in physically, this is kind of a lot like a battle of light and dark. And it's more complex than we previously, at least I previously knew or thought. It's not so black and white, dualistic. And if you truly tap into your heart and you tap into that moral compass, it will be your guide. It will be your guide. The true concern isn't other people's opinions as much as it is when you lose your own sovereignty. Don't give up your sovereignty unconsciously because of somebody else's opinion. This is the time to be who we really are. This is the time to shed old beliefs that are no longer serving us. This is a new energy. This is a new time. Nothing like this has ever happened. Or so, at least not in hundreds of thousands of years. All that of history that we were taught, all this science we're taught, all this medicine we're taught, I could go on. It's all full and riddled with lies. And it's one thing to know that, but that subconscious programming be strong. That's kind of what I feel is really keeping us weak when we don't know who we are, when we don't know if we have purpose, if we don't know if that we're all one, that we're all connected, that it's so obvious that life is eternal and there is higher intelligence all around us. But you're not going to see it if you refuse to look, because you have free will in that sense. These higher forces, if you, by your own free will, ask, will come in and guide you and show you, and it is you. Because this is all one. This is like a holographic universe. It's amazing. We are so empowered. We have everything we need. We all have our own spiritual army. If you knew, if you tapped into it. And now is the time to tap into it, because this clairvoyant stuff, this extrasensory stuff is getting so much easier to tune into now more than ever. And that is definitely true. And so remember that, because again, we're talking about duality. These darker forces, these darker beings, that's the real invisible enemy. And it has no prejudice whether you're a cop or a person or black or white or whatever. These lower vibrations don't actually care about that. They want to feed on fear. They want to feed on hatred. They don't wait for you to ask for them to come into your life. They'll come into your life and they'll manipulate you for your consent. It's just like that in the physical world. It's just like that in the spiritual world, whether you realize it or not. And I'm not trying to fearmonger, because you actually do have, that's the most important thing that I guess I want to say, and that's what sovereignty really is. You don't have to, and this is what we're doing. We're evolving, we're learning these new things, we're pioneers. We don't have to consent to these manipulations. We don't have to consent to there is a cosmic law of sorts. There is universal laws of how energy can work, how matter works. When we wake up to that, we no longer have to consent to these darker beings that want us divided, that want us confused, that want us hateful, that want us spiteful, that want us bitter, because they feed off of that. That's what we're seeing. That's what we're seeing. We're seeing all this occultism stuff. It's only the beginning. It's going to get so trippy. If you're not ready, it's going to get so trippy. It's only starting. I guess you can always say that, but it really is. It's going to get very, very I don't know. I don't even know the word for it other than trippy. Like a simulation, like a matrix, because it is. It very much is. So I think that's quite enough. I always ramble on and on, but again, thank you all for listening. I'm really honored to be here. I'm really grateful to be here. I'm feeling so much love, and gratitude to be witnessing this amazing story unfold. And I have so much faith in humanity. I really do. I believe humans are good. I see so many amazing people in my community all the time. I'm always blown away by the encouraging conversations I have with people I know and people I don't even know at this point. People are waking up. It's not our job to hate them, or and this is a reminder to me too, because I feel it too. I get in those rabbit holes too when I see something that triggers me or something. But I just think it's important we remind ourselves what are we really doing here? What's this really about? Is it about being right, or is it about truly building the new earth and truly educating people? Because now is the time, more than it ever has been, to truly, sincerely educate people on things like voluntarism and building community. And it's not, about dividing. It's not about hating people because maybe they don't have the same exact idea or opinion or perception as you, which we're all different for a reason. God made us different for a reason. And I think we know that. I think it's just that subconscious programming kicks in. And again, that's what we're working on. That's what we're clearing. That's what we're healing and transforming. God bless all of you. Have a wonderful night.